So I'm just on my way now down to that blue DAF LF from last week's video. He's now got AdBlue dosing malfunction on the dash and it's staying on permanently, which is great for me, which means there's an active fault. So we'll get down there now, get it diagnosed and get it fixed. Thankfully today we've got an AdBlue dosing malfunction on the dash. So we can have a look on Jaltest now and see what's going on. We're back in ECS DC6 today. We've got some nice active fault codes on our metering valve and an AdBlue consumption issue. So we'll concentrate all our efforts on the dosing valve now. So let's head down to the exhaust. So now we know we've got an operational failure on the metering valve or AdBlue dosing valve. We'll get this cover off the exhaust system. Let's get this off here. It's a bit sooty here. So the driver's saying he drove 20 miles before the fault occurred again. That's the problem. We'll get it off, we'll test it. Go the old-fashioned way. Use a ratchet. Come on. There we go. Right. Let's see if this does 120 mils. Right, let's go start the test. So we'll jump back onto Jaltest now. We'll go into system checks, AdBlue DPF, diesel exhaust fluid metering, and we're going to meter it today. We're not going to prime it, we're going to meter it. Let's see what happens. So it should be to do between 85 and 150 millilitres. Let's start the test. As we can see now, Jaltest has started the AdBlue dosing test on the truck. This should now start dosing AdBlue. Well, it's not dosing anything, is it? The pressure's at 9 bar and now it's cut off. Nothing came out of that whatsoever. Well, I think it's safe to say that this doesn't do anything. So we'll change this now then. We'll cancel the test, seeing as it's not working. We'll turn the ignition off. Oh, I'll tell you what, we'll just change it. There we go. Then we better go and let some pressure out the coolant system. Hopefully we can get these off without getting too wet. We'll try and snatch this and put this on now. There we go. So we've just put our new valve on there now. What we'll do is we'll carry out another metering test. Hopefully it'll run now. And we might get some AdBlue dosing. As you can see, this is dosing now. I'm quite happy that this is working as it should do. We'll stop the test now because it works. And now we'll just clear the faults and put it back together. So we'll fire these bolts back in here now. So we'll just clear the errors, because we won't need them anymore. Let's pop that on there. Get these in. Come on. That's 1, 2. So we'll just start the truck now, check there's no errors, take the VCI out the passenger side and then top the coolant up. So this should circulate the coolant. And while we're doing this, we'll go and get the VCI out the passenger side, I think. So we've got no faults on the dash now. We'll give the keys back to the customer and they can road test it tomorrow and make sure we don't have the same faults again. Oh, that's still at max. Obviously didn't lose enough coolant. Tidy. Right. Next job. So it's Saturday, it's absolutely chucking it down and we're off up to Chorley to have a look at that model year 17 white XF that I had in the video 2 weeks ago. Here now, see all the soot?
Yeah, yeah.
You shouldn't have any soot on this tailpipe,
right?
Because it should be stopped here by the DPF. The one with the DPF issues. We're going to go and sort that out this morning and hopefully get to the bottom of that. So, yeah. Right. And off. Pop that round there out the way. Where's me nearly down mat? Hopefully the weather will hold off.
Yeah.
That's that. Another piece. Right, so this wasn't a genuine filter either. This kit in this. So that's a Torx, not an Allen. I'm used to changing these when they're red hot.
Wow.
See all the soot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's come out a bit easy.
Yeah. What's wrong? Yeah.
Fucking DPF's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's got soot there. There's a gap down here. And looking at that, I'd say this fits together that way. Not that I think I can get this in here. So maybe it wasn't your DPF seals after all. And it's been passing down through the side of the filter. Yeah, there you go. And it was coming through here, not the seals on the filter. So, well, it's Monday morning. It's still raining. We're on our way back up to that XF to do that DPF job. The customer couldn't get one on Saturday, so he's just had to go to DAF for one at about 1,500 quid, I think it was. So, yeah, what he's going to do with the old unit, who knows? But let's go and get this new DPF put in his truck. Right, what we got in the box today? Because I don't think it'll come with a clamp. So there's your seals. That's your bag for the old DPF to go in. And then this is your new one with the steel banding inside. So that'll stop the DPF coming out like it has been doing previously. So I'd say that is new. It doesn't say cleaned or anything on it, so that's a new DPF. We'll be telling the truck afterwards. So we fitted the DPF now, seals and clamps are all in position. I'm just going to run this clamp up here now, then we can get this cover on and then get on gel test. Oh, better fit the wing, that might help as well. And we'll get on gel test and tell it it's had a new DPF then. So let's get this done up. Let's not forget this. Put that there. There we go, now for the wing. So get these two pins lined up here. Everything else is computer related now. Right, we'll get gel test from Eclipse plugged in and we can tell it it's had a new DPF. If only I could open the OBD port. So we're in the truck now, we'll go to anti-pollution because that's where our DPF system is. And then we'll go into maintenance, particulate filter replacement, and it is a new DPF filter. We'll just accept the terms and conditions here. And then what we'll do now is start what's called a degreening process. So we'll tick the box here. The key's on, the park brake's on, all the conditions are met, and the process is finished. And we've now told the truck that degreening is active, and it will therefore change the regeneration strategy of the vehicle to accommodate for the new cleaned DPF filter. So we'll go and cycle the ignition now. With our ignition now cycled, we can go back onto gel test and clear any faults that are in the vehicle. So we'll go back to fault code reading. As you can see, we've still got this soot quantity out of the established limit due to the damaged DPF filter or the packing from round the side of the DPF filter where it had come away. We'll just delete these faults because that's the only fault in the memory. And then hopefully that'll be the end of it and the driver won't have an issue with it. So we're just down at MRH haulage. We've got a DAF Euro 6 MX11 CF, and Matt's problem is he's got fuel in his coolant. So let's get into this. There we go. It's like David Attenborough's sort of like natural world, isn't it? What we're going to do now the rocker cover's off is we're going to try and pressurize the fuel system through the return and see if we can get any bubbles coming out in the header tank. This will indicate that there's a leaking injector sleeve, and then we can get the injectors out, measure the injector sleeve heights, and maybe try and identify which injector sleeve is leaking that way. Maybe we could reverse engineer this and pressurize the coolant system and see if we can see which injector sleeve is leaking that way with the injectors out. So we'll start now by getting the fuel return one-way valve out the cylinder head, and then hopefully we can find a M22 fitting or something to fit an air pipe to, and we can then pressurize the fuel system on the cylinder head. So let's get this off. Right, that's out the way. We'll get a socket on that and get that out the way. So we've got our one-way valve now out the back of the cylinder head here. This is our return gallery. We're going to put this fitting now into the return gallery and pressurize it with 8 to 10 bar of pressure. Hopefully the one-way valves on these unit pumps drop down and shut off the fuel, the high pressure fuel system. That should be shut as well, thinking about it. So this should work. We'll see what happens. We can only make a mess, can't we? Let's get that in there now. So hopefully now we'll be able to charge the fuel system with air pressure. This should pressurize the cylinder head. The one-way valves in the unit pumps should shut down, should lock off the high pressure system, and we should hear bubbles in the header tank if there's an issue with the injector sleeves. Fingers crossed. Right, that's on there. Let's bump the pressure up. Let's bleed some of this off. because now the coolant's coming out of the header tank and I've pressurized the fuel system, so I think we're onto a winner there. There's definitely an injector sleeve issue, I think. There we go. Now we've got these injector tubes out of 1, 2, and now I'm just starting on number 3. I'm going to have to whip the fuel filter module off now to get to 4, 5 and 6. So let's get them done now. Well, I've finally got all the injector pipes out of the fuel rail and out of the cylinder head now. So what we'll move on to now is undoing the retaining bolts for the injectors. And then we can pull the injectors out the cylinder head. So let's get on with that. Hopefully they're not too tight. Tidy. Well, so we've undone the electrical harness to the injectors now. We're just going to recover our bolts and our clamps out of the engine for these injectors, and then we'll get a puller on these and get them out. So we'll just swap my injector puller now over from MX13 to MX11. These are available on the shop if you want them. Run that in there. Right. Let's get started. So this will just fit round the injector. There we go. It's important to keep these in order because obviously the injectors are coded to the cylinders for the trim codes. So the last thing you want to do is go and jumble them all up. And lastly, number 1. So now I've got the injectors out of the engine. I'm going to fire up the old digital vernier and we'll check the injector sleeve heights to see if there's an abnormality in any of these heights. That's 100. That's 100. So unless it's point nothing, they're still all the same height. So that was a big waste of time. They all seem to be within tolerance. Let's pressurize the coolant system. So what we'll try and do now is pressurize the coolant system, see if we can see any of the sleeves leaking. This is the coolant kit available from Eclipse Diagnostics. I think it's number 4 for the coolant cap. Let's see if this fits. There we go. We'll slap that on there. Let's get some pressure in this. So I've just put 10 psi in the coolant reservoir on top of the engine here now. And what I'm going to do is go along the injector sleeves and check for water leaks. I'll take the camera out of here so you can see it. So we'll just check the injector sleeves now for water leakage. Nothing in number 1. Nothing in number 2 that I can see. Nothing in number 3. Let's have a look at number 4. Well, hopefully you can see that. But we've got water coming up the side of the injector sleeve and leaking into the cylinder. So as far as I'm concerned, This is number 4 injector sleeve that needs to come out and be changed. So the cylinder head needs to come off now. Just check number 5. Well, is that fuel or is that water? That is the question. I'd say that's coolant as well. Number 6. No, she's alright. So we've just set this engine to TDC now for Matt to take the cylinder head off. I won't be doing that because it's just diagnostics really. So yeah, there you go. Fuel injector sleeves. Who'd have thought? Right, let's get out of here. What a few epic jobs we've had in this week's video. Was I expecting the DPF packing to come away from round the core and snap in half like that? Not on a filter that had only been in a week, I wasn't. As for the injector sleeves, DAF say you can't change them on Euro 6, MX11 or MX13, so my next question to you guys is, do we give it a go? Matt's looking at all the options available, so let me know in the comments below. Have you ever changed them? Something tells me we're going to need a big tap and a bolt to get them out, just like on Euro 5. As for the jobs from last week's video, I'm going back down on Wednesday, so drop a like if you've enjoyed this week's video. Subscribe if you want more stuff from me, and I'll catch you in next week's video from Truck Tech UK.